Welcome to everyone to our, this is a new year, time flies, we're in 2024. Welcome to our Scientific Wellness Keynote series that presented by GenoPalate. I'm your host, also presenter today, Dr. Yi Sherry Zhang. So good to see all of you joining us live. And how is your new year so far? Well, the fact that you are here, I think it's a very good start. And I'm very confident we're going to make something great happen together this year for your well-being. Let me put the my slideshow on the screen. Let's see. Let me know if you have difficulty hearing me or seeing the slides, okay? Bear with me today. I'm the sole presenter and really happy to do that with you. So give me some time to respond and act on your requests, if any, or questions. And I'd like to enlarge our screen so you can see the visuals a little bit better. Let's see if I'm successful on doing that. Is it better? Is it bigger? Okay. Okay, perfect. Jenny, can you see the video? Can you see the visual? Okay, I hope you can, and let me know. Yeah, so let's dive in. For the new people who join us for the first time, the people that have been to our series for a couple of times already seen this and know me well, I hope. For the new people, welcome. I'm a molecular geneticist trained under the person who coined the metabolic syndrome for us, for our society. So great minds and studied obesity happily for over a decade and published a lot of original work through a fabulous consortium of brilliant scientists. And my research continue obviously throughout from my academic affiliation to GenoPalate, the company I founded many years ago and now, and all of us are hopefully benefiting from the scientific insights, the know-how. And just as a friendly reminder, this is a new series dedicated exclusively created for you, for me included as a user of GenoPalate. We love science, we observe, we know, and then we use that to apply to our wellness. So we're going to talk about sensitive topics. We're going to share cases, and all I ask of you is bring your open mind and participate. And so far, you've been more than good as engaged participants. So I thank you. Today is the continued conversation of this really impactful, important weight management issues that are on the top of everybody's minds, right? New year, new me, new year, new you. More people are going to join the gyms, more people are going to, get back on or get on some sort of new diet. So this is very, very pertinent. And we started this conversation right before Thanksgiving last year. And then the first time was on aging effects on management. And we talk about importance of your mitochondrial health. We're talking about resistance training to grow the volume and the quantity. We also talk about over a decade of aging, we are inevitably gonna lose the functionality and also the numbers of the mitochondria in our muscles and all organs, right? So we talk about hearts and brains, they're all powered by our powerhouse. But there's a way to slow it down, the aging down, and then also maybe even reverse it. So we talk about nutrition, we talk about exercise regimen that you could apply. And then last month, I think right before Christmas, we talk about the fantastic genome of yours, the effect on your metabolic health through nutrition. There's hundreds of well-characterized genetic variations between you and just two pairs of genomes. You're gonna see difference. That's the reason that foundation-wise, you're gonna be situated for different risks for developing obesity, metabolic syndrome, hypertension, you name it. So we talk about how do we leverage the amazing wealth of genetic information now to apply to your living, to help you eat better. Today we're going to talk about sleep better, behave better, because genetic factor is essentially underneath every single traits of a human being that we know. And Dr. My great colleague and friend, and also really expert on the subject matters with me, Dr. Hector Gillen, shared his really interesting case where he measured the deficiency level of his vitamin in his blood through a blood test, and then correct that with a formulation that happened to be GenoPalate, but you could buy it somewhere else with quality control. And then the result is very positive. And I shared my genetic genotype with you on stress eating. And we talk about monogenic model, such as MC4R, monogenic in babies born with that defect, and leading to very early on obese conditions, versus on the other spectrum where I share that genotype of higher risk of a contributing factor of the same gene, and all of you may fall into different genotypes. So we could now utilize that knowledge to drive our success for, in this case, weight management. Now, today, I cannot wait to dive into the observations, the emerging evidence, and it's overwhelming, powerful stuff. And the insights from this, we call the chronobiology as new emerging fields. And the nutrition is really a newcomer into this whole picture. But using the insights I have learned throughout the last probably 3 to 4 years, fairly new, I tremendously benefited from the insights of this discipline of science. So I cannot wait to share with you today. Let's go. Just before we dive into new knowledge, and we always want to review the past, just quickly, genetic factors is very important for getting down your foundation of what you're born into this world with, so that you could prepare and also from time to time deal with the emerging new environmental exposure, right? Genes are static unless you have cancer, unfortunately. They don't change over your lifetime, which is a good thing. That's why we can type them with black and white certainty. But the gene expression is where you could influence by your behavior, by what you eat, how you drive your activities of the day. And the social aspects is, we now know social aspects. Who do you eat with, right? The family you eat with probably will make you more healthier than if you're in a stressed situation or you eat alone. So social aspects is really, really important nowadays, as we see the evidence for. And we help you to tailor a eating plan using genetic factors if you use our service, which everybody on the call are. And then we also want to provide a toolkit, so to speak, So in different situations, when you need to lose some weight or care about your obesity risk and so on, we want to provide you the tools so you can use in any circumstance. I want to say a side note here. We got a very valuable feedback from probably a couple of you saying it will be a good feature to have a closed captions or subtitles. I agree. I love those programs with that feature. We checked with our technology platform. Unfortunately, because this is a live event, they cannot do that translation. There's a translation technology behind it live. But fortunately, we will be able to provide closed captions when we provide you the replay through YouTube. I think that's the platforms we're using today. So just want to respond to a couple of yours very good suggestion. All right, let's dive into today's program. I want to introduce you. Some of you probably familiar with, some are probably never heard about what is circadian clocks, biological clocks or rhythms. How does it work in our body? I want to review some of the really interesting new evidence with you. And there's a lot to do with sleep and also eating habits. And then overwhelmingly fast-growing growth, a wealth of knowledge is sitting around. How do we apply chronobiology to manage your obesity risk and weight? We're going to recap after that. I will have hopefully some time to answer some of your questions, have a discussion live, and then we'll close it with what's next. Sounds good? All right, so we're looking at this beautiful planet we all have the privilege to live on and thrive on. And for 2.5 billion years, that's where the beginning of the life happened. We've been revolved around this beautiful fireball, right? The sun. Without the sun, there's no life, there's no energy, there's no food, there's no seasons. And we're revolving around it. Because of that, nearly all living organisms, lots of them, even from bacteria to human, plants, animals, humans, all develop this cycles, right? We oscillate between sleep and wake and everything else associate with it, especially our biology. So as early as 18th century, there's an astronomer, I believe it's a French scientist. He asked a very interesting question. He said, well, if I put my mimosa plants, which is on the picture here, we know they're going to open their leaves under the sun, right? They're going to close under the moon. So what will happen if I put my mimosa plants in darkness throughout the day? And as you can see at the lower part of the picture, his hypothesis is this plant will actually keep a certain rhythm itself, regardless of the sunshine. And the hypothesis is proven to be true in this case, right? So in darkness, the mimosa plants will open their leaves and then close, just as before, when we expose it to the cycle of sun and darkness. So that's really kind of kick off the concept, the exploration of this concept called circadian rhythms. Right? We start with the plant, we'll move into more advanced species. Now, a little bit Latin here, because when you study biology, you learn a lot of Latin by training. So circa is around in Latin, and D is actually day. So it's literally circadian, it means around the day. So 24 hours rhythm is a circadian rhythms about or mean. Now, in 1938, a scientist, professor of University of Chicago, did the first human sleep scientific experiment. He did it on himself. He went to, I think, a cave in Kentucky, locked himself there for over 40 days. And he want to ask this question, which is similar to the mimosa experiment, that if I'm in a cave without the cues from the sun and the moon, the cycle or triggering or cues, will my circadian clock rhythms in my body goes on? And then the answer when he reemerged from the cave is yes. So there is a circadian clock going on. And on the right side, on this purple background, what you're looking at is a little bit more modern study. We're looking at one college student volunteer who volunteered for this pretty difficult to me experiment. He's confined in this, I believe it's an underground apartment. So they can shut the door, then you block you don't have access to the cues anymore, the sun and the day. You have no sense of day and night. So before that, we let this student to live, sleep and wake up with the door open of the apartment. So he get a signal for 7 days. This is what you can see. I hope I have a pointer here, but on the top is you can count the 7 bars. The blue is the time he was awake, and then the yellow is when he was in sleep. As you can see with the cues, he's pretty normal with his sleep and wake cycle. Now, something interesting happened when we put him in isolation. Now, he was in an isolation for about, I think, 15, 16 days. And then something really interesting happened. Number one, he will wake up after 12, 14 hours of sleep. As you can see, the blue bar is a little bit longer than the yellow bar, right? But over time, very interestingly, he will wake up about 1.4 hours later than the 24 hours window. So every day he's waking up later and later and later. So out of over 2 weeks of time, and he actually lost 1 day of his life, if that matters. And then when the researchers open the door for him, so to speak, you can see that he's actually waking up during the midnight, just because the shifting of his chronological clock without the cues. And then now with the cues, he started to be normalized, just completely shifted, right? So 2 signals. One, yes, we have a circadian clock in human. Number 2 is we need a light dark cycle to really sync with our biology. And this is a really beautiful abstract picture, which I want to share with you. There is hypothesis from that buildup of the research was that there must be a clock inside our body. And where is the master clock, or the biggest clock is, the first theory is in our brain. And that makes sense. That's our controlling center. And is that true? So if you kind of live quickly my day as a human body, as example here. So from left side, the upper part is the daytime and the lower part is the dark time. I get up, this is actually reflect my real schedule. 6 o'clock, I get up and I get my boy going. My cortisol, which is the stress hormone, as you probably know, release spike, and then make me alert, which is a good thing. And my blood pressure, this is an important note, gonna rise fastest compared to my day because I need to get going. And then during the 10 a.m., I have high alertness. My brain function the best. Thanks God I'm doing the lecture now, not later. Afternoon, I'm going to have best coordination of my bodies. So that's where 4 o'clock-ish is your performance going to peak. And if you want to golf, you probably want to go then. And I'm going to have my highest body temperature around 6 o'clock in the evening. And I'm going to reach my blood pressure for the peak around 7 to 8 p.m. My melatonin secretion produced and secreted around 8 p.m. to make me feel sleepy and then prepare me for hopefully a deep sleep. My temperature will be the lowest around 2 a.m. And all of you, unless there's something really weird going on, we all share this biological, physiological cycle. Very interesting, right? So if you haven't followed, the advancement and then through acknowledgement or recognition by Nobel Prize, that speaks to how important the circadian clock work has been in biology. So in 2017, Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine was given 3 amazing scientists dedicated their life in studying the molecular and genetic mechanisms controlling circadian rhythms. These are Jeffrey Hall, Michael Rosbash, and Michael Young. And they have lots of interesting studies. We don't have time to dive into that because we have a lot of topics to cover for our benefits of wellness. But I do want to just give you a glance of the development of building upon their 30 years of work. And then the person shown here, this gentleman, Dr. Joseph Takahashi from UT Southwestern Medical School, cloned additional genes to really complete this molecular genetic mechanism picture that the laureates of the Nobel Prize of 2017 started. And this is also, Joseph has also worked on this for 3 decades. It's a phenomenal work. What happened is there's this really clockwork where there's something called, they name it period, PER gene in the nucleus, which is on the left side of the right picture, and then coupled with something called the cry gene, they will actually make a protein, send them out to the cell, to the cellular space, to do the function to produce the protein. That's where proteins are made, as you know. And then during the night, Joseph found this new gene called clock. He named it clock. Clock protein will help become a chaperone to send these protein back to the nucleus to degrade their own production, to block their production, I should say. So it's a very amazing biological mechanism that, kind of tune into this sleep and wake cycle that the sun and the moon give us. And also Joseph's work illustrated here by this very interesting way of looking in the landscape of the genome. We're looking at on the right side, if you can read there's a lot of funny names. You can probably find PER1, that's a period gene 1. CRY2 is a cry2. And then there's a clock gene somewhere, lower than those genes. What you are looking at is of 24 hours a day, at different times, each of these genes gonna be fluctuate and reach peak and valley at different times of the day. What he's illustrating here is we know now hundreds, if not thousands of genes, they're changing throughout the day to keep your body or animal's body or plant's body functional. in a very well-controlled circadian rhythm. Using Joseph's work is mostly in animals, in mice, and he cloned different genes such as a clock from a mutant mice. That's how they identified that gene in the first place. This picture shows you through their animal work, clocks exist throughout the body using animal models first, and now we transfer the knowledge to humans. As you can see from the master controlling center in your brain, which is SCN, where the master clocks proteins are made, and then to your lung, to muscles, and to liver. As you can see, the pattern of those important gene markers are very different. Some are coming down and every day have its own oscillation pattern. Some are coming up. So that to us is a very important note. All the organs and the cells and the tissues in your body and genes, and they all have their circadian clocks, and a lot of them are different from person to person and from organ to organ. Now, many years ago, I was a co-speaker with this gentleman shown on the picture, Dr. Sachin Panda, and that's how I got introduced to his amazing line of work on the behavioral, on the chronobiology, using population of humans as a study cohorts. And then you will see so I'm on to credit the work and also the wisdom to him. And he has a foundation called My Circadian Clock. It's a nonprofit research study, which is very interesting to take a look if you have time. So I'm borrowing some of his presentation from his talks in the past I have seen. And over the years, and it's also grown significantly, the body of the knowledge. So what we are looking at here is intuitively, babies and children, if they have a disturbed sleep pattern, chronic and consistently chronic disturbance, they will have impaired growth and development, and then that will continue into their adulthood. And we know teenagers, as you grow and mature into later, let me move my icon so you can see the lower part better. Can you see that? All right. So now we can see the right side of the axis here. You know, we all experience to different degree of this disturbance of our sleep and brain function associated with the habits if we don't sleep well. And now with mountains of evidence, we're talking about 2,000 papers and reflecting more studies supporting the knowledge where we know all of these diseases are correlated tightly with the chronic disturbance of our circadian rhythms. So it's very impactful and important. Now let's go back to how does this happen in our brain, just so we have more context to memorize the takeaways. Humans follow the light. We talk about the sun and the moon, right? We rotate around the sun. So we develop our biological entities to follow the light, so to speak, just like the mimosa plants we talk about. And then the human clocks is located exactly at the base. If you can see this behind the eyeball, the eye will receive the lights and then will transfer the signal to the base of our brain, this yellow station, very tiny, just behind the tube in the hypothalamus. that's where our master clock is situated. That's the sole place for your master clock. Let me move myself. Again, if I can. Oh, it doesn't let me. Okay. There's this protein. This is produced in the hardware made into the master clock region of our brain, and this is called melanopsin. Melanopsin is a blue light sensing protein, and it's present in only about 5,000 to 10,000 neurons of our eye, and it's hardwired to the master clock in the brain. And that's the reason we can have a sleep cycle and an alertness cycle when we have the cues from the sun. Now, very interestingly, now we know how do we sense, how do we break the cycle, right? How do we break the sleep and then awake? Turn out the melanopsin is much less sensitive to candlelight or orange light. So this is one of our biological program to make sure when we have 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, the sleep hormone rises at night, we can have a better sleep. And then during the day, or if you shift it to, a blue light during the night, we will have disturbed rhythms because the bright light, the blue light will constantly activate our melanopsin proteins. And then the brain literally is confused. And that's one of the reasons we have so many issues, right? So when we talk about gloomy days, especially now, the day and night living cycles are so blurred. Coming out of COVID, lots of us or have increased time working inside of the house. We don't even need to leave the house if you have a remote job. And then that really disturbs our rhythms, right? We don't go out 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. anymore necessarily, unless you really discipline yourself. So that's a problem. And what it really leads to is this constant gloomy indoor day, and then bright light at night. So we never really have the contrast anymore that our ancestors are developed, adapted for 2.5 million years. If it's, counting the biological gene pool before that is even longer. So all these, mental issues that we, attention issues, PTSDs and you name it, that we listed here are all the results or being worsened by this foggy brain issue. On the bright side, this is also a great opportunity, right? Why don't we just give, using our knowledge now, give a different light, different habits to our people to take care of our health better? Yes. So it's exactly what something called the circadian medicine is about. And then there's a movement advocating for lighting revolution to promote human health. And then everybody can do simple things to change our life for better today. So I hope you will walk away a few notes. If you know better, great. If you know everything I just talked about, is fantastic. Keep it up. If you learn a few new things like I have been, please use them because they're really impactful for your health and easy to do. So this picture from Sachin's work or presentation before I really like. So we have this cues of, first is the sunlight, and we develop our eye, we develop our new neurons to receive that signal, transmit to our master clock in the base of our brain. And then that will transmit that information of the synchronology to the light cycle to all the organs as we listed here, liver, muscle, heart, you name it. And those are the peripheral clocks in the organ. And we introduced not only the organs, every tissues of the organs, and then the cells of the tissues and the organs, they all have different genes, wake up, sleep back, so to speak, at different times. Now, so, I mean, you already know this problem because we live in here, right? We live in it. The problem of the industrial revolution, which is a great advancement, they, develop our infrastructure. So we have food all the time. We have light all the time. But the problem is it's not aligned with our ancestral rhythms, which developed for much, much longer time. So we're not going to be able to change that anytime soon. And I don't think it's healthy to try to change it. So what happened before from our ancestors, there's a very clear, we get up when the sun rises and we go to bed when the sun sets, right? And then the sleep is in dark, and then we get up and we need to go find food or work. And the physical activities and opportunity to eat is relatively close to each other, and they're very contrast to the environment we're gonna be in bed for. But today, what happened is, we already covered that. So day and night, we can have lights on all the time. We're on our screens all the time. Our new generations, my son is spend too much on the screen. So now everything is kind of blurred, and we have tons of opportunities to eat, and we'll get into that in a minute. Am I good so far? Clear so far? All right, let me know if there's issues. So we replace the signal of light to food. And all of a sudden, there's one more very important layers to changing or obeying our circadian rhythms. So typically in the past, right? So if you get up at 6 a.m., you start eating your breakfast, and then you burning the carbs from your food, you start to store your fat because that's how we survive as a biological entity. And then you have around noon, you have your lunch, and then dinner time, we're talking about our early dinner around 4 or 5, you finish your last glass of wine or your chicken dinner or whatever you eat for dinner. And then you wind down from eating. And that's a good thing because your body started to receive the signal, okay, my feeding window is over. Now I need to start burn the fat from the eating I stored, with. And then you go to bed, and then this the fat started to burn faster after your feeding window is over. And this is where we call it fasting period, right? And then so the fat was gonna burn throughout the during the night when you're sleeping. And then when you usually get up hungry again, and that's the cycle goes on. So on the top side, you can see the fire means burning your fat. If you obey this 10 hours eating and then 14 hours fasting window, you give your body enough time, all the circadian clocks and everything we talked about before, enough time to respond. So it's in sync with your ancestral rhythms. But that's not the reality for everybody now, right? And unfortunately, not for a majority of us. So we can eat around the clock. Not everybody does, I hope not, but we definitely have elongated eating hours, right? So if we're talking about in a case where if we give 5 more hours, which is not crazy long, right? Think about if you start your first bite at 6, and then you finish 12, 6, so 9 p.m. So your last glass of anything with a calorie will be 9 o'clock, which is normal, right? That's a 15 hours feeding. And then you give your body 9 hours, so shorter time of fasting and resting. What happens is you see this yellow line, it doesn't valley to the bottom, and then this orange line doesn't go up to the top. And when you have these chronic patterns over and over again, your body will accumulate issues because that's not how we hardwire. So I would like to ask you a question, and I will tell you my answer as well, which is important and relevant at this point of the presentation. So the question is, I hope you can see that. How long is your normal eating window during a 24 hours day? This is anonymous. Just try to be honest with yourself. Otherwise, it doesn't contribute much to our knowledge. I'll give a few seconds, and I will see the results together. All right, I think we probably stabilized. Can you see the results together with me? So I'm trying to go back to your chat box. Yeah, thank you for the honesty, for the input. There's no right or wrong. It's life, right? So I used to be more when I was in college. I eat whenever my eyes are open, right? So we have 5% of you, us, are doing that, and then some people have longer than the rest. So keep that in mind, right? So we have a kind of peak at more concentrated as 12-12. It's probably pretty common. And then 10% of you said you eat within 8 hours. Keep it up, and 10 hours, keep it up for the reasons we just talked about. And I'm going to show you more interesting stuff from this point around that. Elizabeth, I will share the poll results with you after. Thank you for the feedback. So what do we do with all these really interesting insights from science, right? Let me just read our results so you know. I don't want you to wonder. We have the results are 10% of us eat within 8 hours, then fast for the rest 16. Okay, 25% eat within 10 hours and then fast for 14. 55% of us eat within 12 hours, then fast for the rest half. 5% eat within 16 hours and fast for 8. 5% says, I eat when my eyes are open. Okay, thank you. Go back to what can we do, right? So let's talk about intervention. Now, Dr. Pandas did the lab also, they do both animals and clinical studies using human populations on the behavioral side. So in the mice study, it's a very interesting study design and results. They show that they put two siblings. So these mouse are genetically almost identical, not twins, but they're more identical than just the siblings half-half, because they're born to the same parents and they're kind of inbred, right? So they have a same genetic gene pool they live in this very controlled environment. So one group of siblings, I should say, they will be exposed to food, and they can eat anytime they want. And then the other group will be restricted to between 8 to 12 hours, and they will be removed from access to food. And these are calorie matched, right? It's not like the random eaters are going to eat 3 times more stuff or different stuff. It's the same calorie matched to high degree. But because you have double the time, you inevitably eat a little bit more, but not a lot more. What happened in the random eating, so non-times restricted eating, the mice developed fatty liver, low performance, obesity, heart disease, you name it, all the chronic dietary related, lifestyle related diseases like, what human would, versus the time restricted eating or TRF for feeding for animals, they are healthy. And what about, can we change the unhealthy habits which we give to the mice to healthy, and then see what it does to their wellness? Sure enough, when they change their schedule of eating from random to 8 to 12 hours, they become healthier. So, and now we know this knowledge is completely transferable to humans, right? On this diagram, you can see on the right side, time-restricted eating, and now leading to that movement where we heard or experienced or used called intermittent fasting. This is the basis for that, right? This is the science to support that dietary regimen provided by certain providers. When you limit yourself to less than 12 hours, which majority of you are, which is good, your risk for obesity and cancer and cardiovascular will be reduced. And your quality of sleep and quality of recognition, cognitive health function during the day will be improved. And then on the flip side, if you're eating around the clock, chronically disturbing your rhythms through sleep, and also they also feed on each other, right? It's a vicious cycle when you start, so to speak. You don't sleep, and then you eat, and you don't sleep. You can't sleep the next day as well, right? So it's kind of building on itself. Then you experience all these chronic diseases that we experienced. Now, my circadianclock.org, that founded by Dr. Panda, Sachin Panda, is doing something really, really interesting. So they will provide a simple app which they will use to document. All you need to do is take a picture of your food or drink, including water, throughout the day. That's all you need to do, because they want to make it simple. Otherwise, it's very hard to do the behavior. And they will take your picture, they will analyze it using their technologies. So what happens here is they call this a feedogram. It's probably the first time you heard this word. I thought it's very interesting versus Instagram. So the feedogram, how we read this is there's a dark cycle right before 6 a.m. We're looking at a day schedule over several days of one individual. This is one individual's feedogram. And on the right side, after 6 p.m. is the dark cycles. And in the middle is the daytime. Every single bar, the blue bar, the vertical bar, you're looking at a feeding event, whether it's eating or drinking, okay? That's it. So this individual obviously eating throughout the day, right? And then what they did further is separate them by weekends and weekdays, right? So you can see Monday, Tuesday through Friday, this person is working, and then there's a concentration of more eating around the daytime, a little bit on the wings. And then Saturday, you can see it's a very interesting different patterns, right? It's kind of have a break. Maybe it's a sleep during the day or a party during the night, who knows, right? And then Sunday has, on the top, the first Sunday has no eating, probably sleeping, I'm assuming, and then get up, eat, and then sleep again, right? And so on. And again, this is one person, repeated days, but is there a pattern here? Let's see. What if we consolidate, aggregate this one person's eating events between, on the top is the weekdays, well, he or she is working, and then lower is the weekends. So when Dr. Panna was presenting, he had a very interesting comment. It's a kind of very funny. He said, look, almost like this person is eating during the weekday in one time zone, and during the weekend in another time zone, right? So that's our behavior. So this is one person. What about all of us? Or not labeling you. I'm not in that study, but when we look at hundreds to thousands of individuals, we're eating around the clock, as you can see, right? So from, there's definitely more activities on the right side of this, which is the day. But when people still eating 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And this is honest, like objective, documented true human behavior among a group of people and randomized, right? So it's real. It's reflecting eating habits that in our society. So on the right side is the same thing we look at here. And then we know this will be associated with chronic, non-communicable, chronic diseases that are not infectious disease. And what about if we restrict the time of eating to that 10 hours? I think this is a 10 hours restricting schedule. What will happen? So in Dr. Panda's study, and it's ongoing, that we can see a drastic change in these people's metabolic health and sleep quality. So this is a really interesting where we have this unhealthy clock that a lot of us exposed to, right? And I'm really happy to see a lot of, we have 20-30% of us, you are really disciplined, and 55% are on the kind of close to that. So you will benefit from it. And then I think also speaks to a lot of opportunity if we can easily fine tune our eating and sleep habits just by timing. The one thing I need to point out, you may know that for time restricted eating, this regimen, when you are allowed to eat, when you allow yourself to eat in a feeding window, you don't have to care too much of the calorie. That's the beauty of this, at least to me. I don't like to count my calories. It just never worked for me. I can log my food. It's not sustainable, but I can go with the timing. I recently have been practicing get up, not eating until late morning or even noon. And then right there, I'm free to eat anything I want. I feel this is optimal for me, but you have to kind of try it out for yourself. Want to in the next few seconds or few minutes, I want to introduce you some other really interesting concepts associated with the foundation we just laid down. There's this concept, I don't know whether you heard about it. I heard it recently, is social jet lag. Well, social jet lag is a concept where, this researcher published a great seminal work earlier in Nature that we consistently losing sleep. And then if you look at it as a population over age in years, so the people who have free days, usually it's the not working days, you're gonna make up sleep. So you sleep more than your normal. And then the working days, you don't have enough sleep. And then you have the deficit, right? But the oscillation between these two patterns is actually give us a social jet lag. So meaning the social environment we're living in, constant, everything we talk about, lights and food and social events and whatnot, and also this working schedule, work off on work, off work schedule, made us constantly changing our rhythms, and that's not synced with our biology. And then eventually you see this very interestingly, intuitively, that only at 65, our free days and the work days merged, right? That's where probably lots of us retire or close to that point, and it makes sense. But during this, before that, and then throughout, because everything going to be continuing to your later of your life, whatever your the consequences from your habits, it's dramatic. So there's a social jet lag is really a doing harm to our society for all generations. And then we kind of we know the social jet lag and have a tight correlation with obesity. What's interesting here is on the left side, for different people with different BMI, when you have a borderline, you're in the overweight range to begin with, the social jet lag will kick you into potentially have the risk of obesity much more than if you are a normal weight person, right? So that the worsening effect become very obvious here. On the right side is the number of sleeping time for 3 groups of, I believe it's college students, volunteers, and correlated with their cognitive score. So brain function performance in wake. So as you can see, 4 hours as compared to 6 hours of sleep in bed, compared to 8 hours, the score is continuously going up or worsen if you have less sleep. So that speaks to how important that prevention of the social jet lag is. Okay, so a summary so far, and I have a few interesting notes after. I really hopefully you get as fascinated about our own biological clock as I have been as a scientist over all these years. It's an emerging field. I see great opportunity, great power of using our knowledge in circadian rhythms and biology to make our life better in so many different ways. And, as we talk about the light, let's talk about social jet lag, we talk about eating around the clock. These are the things it's easy to change. It's hard to stick to. I get it, but it changed my life for better. And I started to have this just timing, right? Just time my own freedom of eating. I don't like the restrictive part, so I focus on the freedom part. So after I don't eat, and I can show you why I don't eat right after I get up, supported by science, and then I started eating, and then I'll eat whatever I like, healthy, and then stop at a certain time. And I really like it. My body really likes it. Chronic disruption is really the worst. So let's change that. And then you can use it to do a lot of behavioral modifications, as we talk about. I want to show you a few more future nodes in our body. And think about you as a beautiful symphony of clocks. We have a master clock, which is in the base of our hypothalamus. We have an endocrine clock also in the base of more behind in our brain. that is where the melatonin is secreted. So there's a clock to time that, obviously, and after 8 a.m. usually, 8 p.m. usually. There's a heart clock, there's cardiovascular clock in our heart, and they will go to rest during the night. There's a metabolic clock, which is reflected by our liver, which is the temperature. Will our temperature rise up as we talk about, and then we have the lowest body temperature during the night. Always because our activities, and muscle has a resting period during the night, and the reason you don't go during the night to your to pee, that's because we have a renal clock, and then our reproductive clock makes sure the ovulation happen, and also you're controlling the female's men's period. And the immune clock, this is interesting, where people started to see evidence where certain for certain cancer patient, if you treat them at different time of the day, they will have better response and better survival rates because the immune clock. So this is the circadian medicine I want to get us to keep thinking about, because I think it's here and it's can change our life for even greater as we go. The social jet lag is an issue where if you are shift workers, which is a lot of us, healthcare, policemen, firefighters, all the people that we need for our society, they are shift workers. And then the patients, when you get sick, when you're in the critical care or hospitalized, your rhythm is going to be disturbed, right? When do we give you light? When do we feed you? When do we do operation even? Matters. And then we have too much light during the night. It's beautiful, but it's too much. So I think a lot of our new computers, they will utilizing some of the chronobiology insights, and will shift from blue light screen to orange light screen, which I don't like in the beginning, but now I know why. I'm okay with it, right? So limit your exposure during about 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. It's gonna make your life better. And then for chronotherapy, right, and circadian medicine, the Society of Scientists proposing vaccination will be more effective in the morning. And the medications for certain diseases will be better if you administer sleep time. And all these are not it has to be so don't take your medication at different time right now, but this is up and coming. And evidence also show afternoon surgery for heart disease replacement, valve replacement is safer because our biology, right? So we're talking about a future which is already here. We can time how we dispose the potent ingredients of your pill to become a circadian pill. We could use light to cure diseases, including obesity, which is talked about. We use circadian training devices, timing technology to help our astronauts to fly to different planets better and safer. So I love this wisdom, even though it's usually used for negative events, but it's short, it's easy to memorize. I want to share with you so that today, let's give a new meaning to this really, really wise piece of advice. Time heals all wounds. Let's give our body, our cells, our organs, our people time to heal. That way we can digest our food better, we can sleep better, you'll be leaner, smarter, and happier. I will share these with more details with you as a take home or one pager, so you can maybe glue to on your bed or in your kitchen. So evidence shown, and this is a piece of advice from all these scientific research, that 2 to 3 hours before bed, no bright light, no calories, water is fine, and 8 hours, keep yourself in bed. Hopefully you sleep soundly. And right after you get up, do not eat for at least 1 hour. In my case, it's 4, but I love it. Doesn't mean you have to. But try your window and try to stop eating within a certain period and be consistent. Even you travel, be consistent with it. Find your own system, and your body will like it, and your health will thank you. And by the way, at GenoPalate, knowing all of these, knowing the genetics behind the clock genes and so on, we're already using a little bit. You see some of these genotype in our report, but we are working very hard to try to utilize this to provide you probably the most comprehensive sleep and nutrition chronobiology panel and regimen. I hope this year, 2024, we'll be able to service you with that. And when it's available, I will reach out, let you know. Okay, so I hope you like the presentation, and maybe I'll open the floor up for a couple questions if you have anything to discuss with me. Here's one from Angela. Does drinking beverages out of the 12 hours count as eating? Yes, if it's with calorie. So it's important to restrict your calorie intake within your window that you decided to limit to. Okay, so wine and anything, Gatorade or anything like that will count. Hi, Tim. Thank you for the question. Yes, the slideshow will be available to you. We usually, as a routine, we will follow up with a recap and a replay, a recording, so you will have access to all of these. When is the best time to do red light therapy? Do you mean the orange light? I'm not quite sure Jeffrey's question. If you're talking about when is the time to start, remove the exposure to blue light, that will be 3 hours. I will try 3 hours before your bedtime. So if you go to bed at 10, 7 o'clock will be where you shift to your orange light, which, by the way, your iPhone will have that feature. And most of the recent generations of a PC will have that feature. If you don't use it, please use it. That will make your eyes stop receiving that signal, will trigger the master clock. With working from home, is there a better light we should use to help with the sunlight issue? That's a really good question. I bet there are chronobiology lights, so to speak, the orange light, right? I mean, it's literally candlelight. So that's really how our eyes are responding better. So I would probably just Google that and dim your light. Julie, thank you. Oh, thyroid medication. I have to look for this for you, Phyllis. Thank you. It's a really good question. I will look for the evidence for better in the morning or night for you. What is the ideal eating window? Shorter the better. I'm not suggesting 4 hours. I'm not suggesting water fasting. But I've seen like an incremental lift for the benefit. If you go from 12 hours to 10 to 8, 6 hours, I sometimes can do it, but sometimes I can't stay with it because I just got hungry and I want to eat. So I think just finding the most sustainable, shortest eating window, Amy, that would be my suggestion. What is the impact of changing with seasons? Darker, shorter light in winter. Yeah, so the seasonality. So I live in Wisconsin, right? We have gloomy days, shorter days during the winter, and not enough sunshine. That's similar to what we talk about. Is it just the contrast of day and night is not enough necessarily based on our ancestral rhythms developed over so many years. So what I would do is do the changes so that there's something, this remind me, a very good sleep doctor once told me the one thing everybody can do in the morning is when you wake up, in a dark room, you wake up, walk into the light, the brightest light you can find. And I've been doing that every day now. It's amazing. It's so subtle, but it's so effective. Walk into the light and walk into the dark when you want to sleep. So just make sure your brain is synced with that contrast. Do the calories in fiber, true fiber and so on, count as calories? Not eating for 2 hours before bed or as part of your 10-hour window? I would just stop eating anything, be honest with you, Elizabeth. I think you want to give your body almost like a mental note. I'm done eating. Again, if you're thirsty, drink some water before bed, it's totally fine. But no calories. Fiber, it will have it's digestion, right? You have to digest it, even if the calories, 5, stevia and all that. So I will just try to eliminate that when you tailor your window. Is a TV also considered blue light? Yes, I believe so. And I don't know if there's a screen you could put on your TV. I'm assuming you could. So thank you, Tim. The fiber is a low calorie, no calories. Depends on what come with your powder, right? Usually they have a little bit because of the other things they put in there, but fat, carbs, and protein, they all have calories. So, alrighty. Thank you so much. I love the discussion. And just a quick reminder, we're gonna have a discussion on effects of stress, and I'm working on having a really fabulous speaker to have a discussion with me. I think you would like that. And I do want to ask you for help. This is for you. We want to keep improving this program, and you're excellent. You're awesome. But we'll follow up with a feedback intake survey. We'll send it through email. If you could answer that, complete that, I will be really appreciative. And this will conclude our today's seminar, webinar, I should say. It's really my pleasure. Happy New Year again. I know we're gonna have a great year. And my name is Dr. Yi Sherry Jiang. This is GenoPalate. See you next time.